Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Daily Fill. I am Scott Jackson, and this is Drum Lessons with Scott. And today, this is our first video recording for the podcast. And today, I'm going to talk about and continue our discussion for the great habits for a great practice. And today, we're going to talk about capitalizing on your successes. So, this might get a little confusing because last week I talked about learning from your mistakes. But really the best way to go about creating success for yourself is figuring out what that success is. Finding out the things that worked for you, writing it down, honing in on that, and making that your priority rather than the mistakes. Because if you keep learning from your mistakes, you're always going to keep looking for mistakes. But if you keep looking for successes, and I'll tell you what, you can start a trail really fast and really, really quickly towards success and being either a better player or just having a better career. So let's start with a few tips, okay? When you look at it from a perspective of learning from your mistakes, what you're doing is you're teaching yourself what not to do, which is a good thing. You want to know what not to do. But you can also get in the habit of saying, okay, how many mistakes am I making? You can sit down and record, whether you're playing with a band or you're recording or you're in, maybe you're doing something for YouTube, right? You're still going to sit there and doubt yourself because you're afraid or you're either listening for yourself to make a mistake. And you can't do that, especially in a live situation. You can't be listening for or waiting for the mistake to happen so you can correct it. You don't want to do that. The key is take those successes, learn from it, harness it, take full advantage of the knowledge that you acquire from the successful thing and successful method or process that you did in order to get in that situation. Or if you're practicing, let's say, oh man, those double strokes sounded really good. If you have an audio recording of it, you need to listen back to that 1,000 times because you want to give yourself a clear understanding of what really good double strokes should sound like. I remember when I wanted to learn how to play good double strokes, I didn't listen to myself playing double strokes. I listened to the DCI marching corps stuff because all of those guys have impeccable double stroke rolls. Those guys just have great hands, period. So whenever I was listening to things, and this will be one of the tips that we get into, I was listening to people that were already good at what I was trying to do. So let's dive right in, right? So how do we find our successes? How do we do that? Well, number one is you want to track everything you do. You want to write down everything you do. Whether you write it, record it, video record it, however you can, you need to track it, all of it, okay? Even if you record it, you still need to write it down. You still need to say, okay, this is what I did. When I recorded this, boom, get your pen right here, get your pen. When I recorded this, this is what I did. This is what I was thinking about. This is how it was set up. Write everything down. Like just track it all. Second is when you discover that process through tracking it, when you discover that method through tracking everything that you're doing, then what you can do is discard the rest. Or not necessarily discard the rest, but you can figure out, okay, this was the thing that worked. Maybe you're recording yourself doing double strokes and you're like, man, I was really relaxed. I was thinking about the sound. I wasn't worried about tempo. I was worried about clarity. And I wanted good articulation. Okay, so my thought process during that time was I was just trying to listen to make sure my double strokes were articulate. They sounded good. I was relaxed. Okay, so I'm going to go and check mark my thought process. And then the next thing is I will listen back to the recording to actually see how it sounded. If it sounded great, you go, okay, so those things are what I need to think of while I'm practicing my double strokes. I need to make sure that I'm focused on articulating each stroke and making sure that I'm relaxed. Now, if I listen back to the recording and they sound horrible, You can say, okay, what didn't work here? Get rid of those. Take a look at what did work. Okay, they don't sound that good, but they sound better than yesterday. Or they sound better than last week. Go back, and this is why I say log everything. You can go back and listen to you playing double strokes from the previous week and say, okay, what did I do today differently from last week? Okay, these were some things that I did the same. Here was something I did different. Did that help me? And if it did, check mark it. If it didn't, exit off your list, okay? Now, third is something I already got into. Study other players that are better. Study players that are already doing and playing at the level that you want to play at. So for me, I'm using this double stroke example in this lesson. For me, when I was first learning double strokes, I was constantly listening to DCI drummers, drum corps guys, and Santa Clara Vanguard, the Blue Devils, just tons, all of those freaking solos. I was just listening to those guys play. I was watching all of the lot videos that were popping up on YouTube, all of that stuff, just consuming it because I wanted really, really good double strokes, and those guys had it. So there's two things you can listen for: their performance capabilities, and also you can track their career. This is something I've done, particularly on drum set. You can go back and look at guys like Peter Erskine, Dave Weckl, Thomas Pridgeon, like just all of these cats, and just sit there and read their history. Read who they've played with, listen to interviews about how they did it, go through, write it all down and say, okay, well, what can I do? What do I need to do to make some of these things happen? All right. Then the third thing is take action on those things that you learn from those players, those legendary players, the guys that are already doing what you want to do. 4 is experiment with different methods. So as you find the different methods that you can do, one is tracking everything, recording it, video recording it, doesn't matter. Writing all of it out. You want to do that in conjunction because that's just helping you. You got to think kind of like a scientist here. You want to try something, you want to have like a hypothesis, experiment with it. Did it work? Did it not work? Okay, this worked, but all of these things didn't. Okay, put these over here for now. This worked, I'm going to hold on to that one thing, and then I'm going to try to add on to that success. Does that make sense? So you're going to experiment with a bunch of different methods. That way you can figure out what works for you. 5th thing is find, research successful habits. And the key word is habits. This is different than methods or processes, okay? I think of a method as, okay, I'm going to do this, and this. I look at a habit as this is something that I will learn that will over time, maybe over a month or two, just become who I am. The process might become who you are because it becomes streamlined. But in terms of a successful habit, I'll give you an example. Something I like to do, particularly for drummers I like, is I write down my 5 priorities for the day for drummers I like. Every single day, I'm like, okay, what are 5 things I need to get done that will put me towards my goal for drummers I like? That's a successful habit. That's called the rule of 5. That is a habit, okay? Every day, every single day, I go, okay, my to-do list for drummers I like, record a podcast. Okay, what are 5 things I can do to record this podcast? Okay, I can set up my camera. I can test some different camera angles. I can, check my background. Should I have the drum set in the background? Should I do this? Okay, so I'm just going to test camera angles. Okay, what about audio recording with the camera? Okay, maybe I can use a microphone, or maybe I can just use my Zoom that I've talked about in previous podcasts. Okay, write that down. Test that out. 3, okay, well, how am I going to put this video together? I need to put the video together. 4, okay, I need to upload it to the website. 5, I need to make a page on the website for it. So those are the 5 steps, right? Now those are 5 big steps. Obviously I can take each step and break them down into a process, but the overall habit is that I take 5 things per goal. I try to do 5 things per goal every single day. So if I have, let's say I have the goal to make, let's say in one day I'm going to make $200, right? Let's say I'm selling some old drums. Okay, if I want to sell some old drums and cymbals, what are 5 things I can do to sell those today? What are 5 things? Write them down. If you were going to sell your drum set and your cymbals, write 5 steps that you would take in order to do that. Okay, I would post them on Facebook. That's not a bad idea. I would take pictures. So maybe number 1 is I would take pictures of my drums and my cymbals. Okay, next is number 2, I would post them on Facebook. Maybe Facebook has a marketplace. You could put it on there. Number 3, call Guitar Center and maybe pawn shops or local music stores to see if they're taking used drums. 4, maybe find an app you can sell it on, like Let Go or eBay or Craigslist. Number 5, find people who want to buy a drum set. That's an even bigger one. Find people who want to buy a drum set. So again, it's 5 simple steps that would help you achieve that goal. So let's say you want to learn paradiddles. Okay, what are 5 things I can do for paradiddles? Okay, I'm going to I want to clean up my paradiddles, right? I want to get them faster, cleaner, more articulate. Okay, number 1 is I'm just going to play a paradiddle off my right hand for 2 minutes. Okay, so right, left, stop. Right, left, left. Okay, number 2 is I'm going to do it with my left hand now too. Left, right, stop. Okay, number 3 is I'm going to do 2 paradiddles back to back and then stop. Paradiddle, stop. Paradiddle, stop. Because what that's doing is now I'm isolating each hand by themselves. Now I'm making the phrase a little longer. Okay, number 3, maybe I work on my double strokes to help me with the double stroke that's in a paradiddle. Okay, sorry, that's number 4. Number 5, well, okay, maybe number 5 is I work on the accent into the diddle. So da 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 da, and I just do that. I don't worry about all the notes in the paradiddle. I just worry about those notes in the paradiddle. So those are some things I use. Just to recap, number 1 is log everything, track yourself. Number 2 is when you discovered processes that work for you, notice it's different from habits. When you discover a process or a method that's worked for you, make sure you keep it. 3 is study great drummers, great players who are doing what you want to do, both for their performance capabilities and for their career. Number 4 is experiment with different processes and methods. Number 5 is find and research successful habits that will help you succeed what you want. Thank you for watching. I sincerely enjoy everyone who watches, and I'm going to continue to do these videos every week for the podcast. So please keep watching. Please keep listening. And again, this is Scott for Drummers I Like. Make sure you check out Rich's show on Wednesdays, The Daily Fill, where he talks all about your business process and how to get your business together, okay? And then check out our show on Friday where we bring on the people you should be studying for their performance abilities in career, and we talk to them about how you need to do it. It's a great resource to figure out how to go about these things. You got people right here on the Drummers I Like podcast telling you that every single week. Okay? Take care. I'll see you next time.